Hi, welcome to my blog, Sex and the Signposts. My name is Gaynor Evans, and this is another book reading from my book, Sex and the Signposts, which is available on Amazon, either like this in paperback, or you can buy it, obviously, download it as an ebook. I left you halfway through the first chapter, Vomit and Vino, and I'm now reading part 2 of that, and I'll just cover the last sort of small amount of reading that I did last time, just so we know where we are. So if you're sitting comfortably, then I will begin. Just to recap, I was on a date out with somebody out in the country somewhere, and getting rather drunk on the rather large amount of wine that was on offer, and this is where we were. He had kindly opened another bottle of wine for me, and my glass seemed to be full again. Ah, well, it would be rude not to drink it. So down it went, glass number 6. He was still on water, and there we sat, him talking and me slurring in front of the biggest flat screen TV I had ever seen. Halfway through the glass 7, the kissing started. By now I was more than 3 parts to the wind and knew that the bedroom was beckoning. He was keen, eager and sober. I was just sozzled. "Shall we go to bed?" he said, almost straight away. Ah, the foreplay was over then. Accepting my fate, although incapable of feeling much at all, I nodded in agreement, and he made for the stairs. I excused myself to the bathroom and tried to get my head together while I peed. God, I was really drunk. This was not good. I had a man upstairs that had waited over 20 years to get me naked, and here I was, barely able to stand, let alone perform acrobatics in the bedroom. I had also a nagging worry of how the boys were doing back at home. I wonder if they had managed to stay sober, unlike me. I think I knew the answer, but back to the job in hand. Getting off the toilet seat, I did at least remember to wipe myself thoroughly. I dare say he would want an excursion into the undergrowth. Kicking off my shoes so I didn't break my neck, I climbed the stairs. He was already in bed, naked as the day he was born. He watched me undress, and then saying to myself, "Right, I'm going in," I jumped in and snuggled under the covers. The sex is a hazy memory. We did all the usual things, I think. He seemed to enjoy himself. I don't know if I did. But then 7 glasses of wine will do that to you. I had decided beforehand that falling asleep wouldn't be a good idea, for 2 reasons. 1 was that I had to go home, and 2, there was my snoring to consider. According to my ex-husband, my snoring is so bad that I sound like a warthog. This is not something you want to do when you're trying to impress a new man. I had sort of mentioned it earlier, but still, trying not to fall asleep sounds so easy when you have consumed, but when you have consumed a bottle and a half of wine, it's damn near impossible. Anyway, I didn't fall asleep. I just passed out. I came round with a start a few hours later. At first, I didn't know why I was awake, or in fact where I was. He was sleeping deeply beside me, and grabbing my phone, I checked the time. 2:30 a.m. Oh, bloody hell. God knows what state my house was going to be in. I had to get home. I started searching for my clothes, and then I realised what had woken me. I felt sick, really sick. By now my bed companion was stirring, and I said I needed to get home. He wasn't overjoyed at having to leave his cosy bed and go out into the cold and drive me home, but being a man of his word, he got up and got dressed. He then proceeded to tell me that I did snore, and yes, it was quite loud. Oh, great. I'm never sleeping with a man again. I bent down to put on my shoes with my head spinning and the sickness rising. The nausea was getting worse, and the need to chuck up the wine and lamb shanks was all I could think about. But I can't, I thought. It's bad enough that I got drunk with someone who had taken the pledge, passed out in the bedroom, and then snored so loudly that he felt he had to mention it. And now I'm dragging him out of bed to take me home. Throwing up would be the final insult. He'd either think it was his cooking or worse still, the sex. No, I can't do it. Swallowing down the contents of my stomach with every intake of breath, I climbed in his car and he drove me home. Luckily it wasn't far, but every mile was murder. As the nausea got worse once the car was in motion, I made small talk in between reciting to myself over and over again, "Don't be sick, don't be sick." We pulled up outside my house, which, although still standing, was lit up like a Christmas tree. Leaning in for a quick peck on the cheek, I said thanks for a lovely evening and climbed out of the car, walking as straight as I could towards the house. The relief at getting home filtered through to my stomach, and unable to suppress the waves of nausea anymore, I started to heave. Looking back, I saw he was still sitting there, making sure I got in safely. A real gentleman, but I wish he'd just bloody well go. I didn't want him to see me heaving as I negotiated my way up the steps. I waved and watched him drive off, and now, running up the drive, I got as far as the back gate, and unable to hold it down anymore, I threw up the whole contents of my stomach all over the garden. The security light, alerted to my presence, clicked on, setting off the dogs, and I was under the spotlight. Shining brightly and glistening in the light were the remnants of the lamb shanks mixed in with the peas, the mange chou, and of course carrots. There for the entire world to see. Straightening up and wiping my mouth on my arm, I took a deep breath and then went through the back door, where I was greeted by vomit in the sink. One boy passed out in the fireplace, 2 more on the floor, and the reek of beer everywhere. Shouting up the stairs to my son, mustering as much indignation as I could muster, I said, "Who's been sick in my sink?" Oh, the irony. I made a mental note to clear up my own vomit in the morning, and checking that each boy was in the recovery position and warm enough, I crawled into bed. I awoke quite early and long before the boys, who seemed able to sleep through anything. I now had a good opportunity to clear up my disgraceful evidence, and I mixed up some disinfectant, and armed with a broom, I went to the back gate. There was absolutely no sign of it. The smell was still lingering, but there was no trace of any sick. I stood there for a moment, puzzled, trying to work out where it had gone. And then I realised one of the dogs had eaten it. Talk about recycling. Oh well, perhaps the whole experience was a sign that I should let sleeping dogs lie for now and keep my knickers up and my food down, at least until my divorce. Well, I hope you enjoyed the chapter, Vomit and Vino. I'll look forward to reading to you again soon. Take care. Bye.